So this trauma-informed care is going to cost too much money to implement, and we're barely making it as it is right now. What do you say, Lauren?
Well, I think that that's a common argument, but training is free. It's good for our workforce. We're already implementing equity steps and working on the System of Care initiative in Oregon, and this just fits into it. It's nothing new. We're already doing a lot of this. We want to make sure that we're listening to our clients so they're engaging in services, and that's why we all got into this field. To help people and to make sure that they're engaging in a positive and meaningful way. So I think in the long run, it will cost us less money.
That makes sense. So looking ahead, right now, if we're spending time off the floor in trainings, it seems like it's going to cost us more money, but in the long run, you're saying it's going to save us money?
Yeah, I agree.
Sounds good. Thank you. So role play 2.
Oh, do we need to do feedback though?
Oh, do we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or I don't know. Was that the feedback? What did we all think, or what would we add to that?
So the resistance of it costing too much money, what is substantiating that it costs too much money? Is it just an idea, or is it where are we getting that idea from?
I think you hit the nail on the head that it's the training part. So while the training may not cost money, like to bring people in or, to have groups, it's more taking time off the floor. And so that definitely is money away from clients and away from our computers. And so, but training is so important to keep growing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And also, if we're not trauma informed, we could be re-traumatizing our clients who would need to come back through the system, so that we would be spending more money to serve our clients, and then turnover would be, or burnout would be greater if we're not seeing the whole picture.
Yeah, I agree. Good points. Okay, number 2. Shall I read it?
Yes.
Okay. We're already quite knowledgeable about trauma, and our clinical staff know how to treat trauma. Why do we need this?
Well, it's easy to look at it from the perspective that the service provider, the clinician, is providing the service, but really the reality is, as soon as that client walks through the door, they're accessing the services. So anywhere from the security guard to the maids or the janitors to just a floor staff. If they're not aware that person at any point could be triggered or activated, and not having that awareness can impact our services. And for us not to be aware, that challenges, that puts more load on the clinician.
All right, I understand that. Okay, shall we do feedback? All right.
Well, I think also if you don't have a clear definition of trauma, because there are a lot of definitions of trauma, or how, the perspective of trauma. So if you don't have a defined, trauma that can be used by everybody, then it can just different ways of how to treat it. Whereas if it's more like a universal plan, or throughout the organization, then they can all kind of have input or have that policy in place of how to, they might be knowledgeable, but maybe it's not based on what they believe trauma is, because everybody has I don't know if that makes sense.
Having a universal understanding and definition of it, I think that's really important. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I tend to think like having everyone on the same page, and that's kind of what I was attempting to. I didn't articulate it that, but it's just like having everybody on that same sphere. Then we're all providing that service from the bottom up or top down.
Yeah, from the moment they walk in the door.
Yeah, and also at the policy level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so role play 4. So do I say it or does somebody else say it and I just respond to it? How I would respond?
I can say it. Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. It'll make our work unsafe and it puts our workers at risk.
So it'll actually make it safer. Like I know many of you guys might think it'll be unsafe, but if we all work together and try to help the people that are traumatized and try to decrease the re-traumatization, then they won't come back, or we have better skills to try to help them cope with the trauma that they have. And so we would actually be at less risk if we are trained to respond when they are in a traumatic situation. Then we can actually reduce the risk. And if we're not trained to be trauma informed, then we put ourselves at a greater risk, because we can actually potentially make them trigger, or the triggers flare up more. So it's more, I guess they could yell instead of being able to calm them down.
Yeah.
So Esmeralda, you're saying it's the opposite then? Like being trauma informed actually lowers the worker's risk?
Yeah, I think so, because like if they're trauma informed and the client is already escalated, and you're not trauma informed, then you can escalate the client more. Instead of you're trauma informed, then you can kind of like use words or the lingo that can kind of help them calm down, or like, I understand you're going through this, and so I think it can help make it feel more safer for the client, and also for the therapist or whatever, because they're able to handle it better, instead of like, if they're not, then they'll escalate themselves, or what was it? There's that trauma themselves, or that stress that they produce. So then they're more likely to go into that fight and flight, instead of just being able to calm themselves or be calm, maintain, stay calm.
I think we could look at it from a staff perspective too, and not just a client perspective, in that we're keeping ourselves safe by protecting ourselves and taking care of ourselves, and learning how to deal with secondary trauma, vicarious trauma, and that TIC will help that. So we'll have less staff turnover. We'll become more of a team, instead of just feeling like we're out there all alone and then having people leave.
Right. Okay.